Hi, welcome to Bookie. Today we will unlock the book The World of Yesterday. What comes into your mind when we mention Europe? Is it the glittering civilization of ancient Greece or the heroic and martial Germanic culture? Is it the mysterious and dark Middle Ages or the birth of modern European history marked by the Renaissance? Or is it the aesthetic charm of an ancient cathedral, an elegant and solemn classical symphony, or a vivid sculpture? Regardless of how you view it, the history of European culture has always been illuminated by unparalleled human achievements. However, twice in the last century, these mortal glories also suffered their most severe tests and the cruelest destruction. We are sure you already thought of the two world wars that threatened to wipe out all of Europe. Today we may understand the war's causes, the decisive points, and the outcomes, but we can hardly truly revisit those dark days by just considering their event logs. However, through the eyes of a literary giant who witnessed that era and its disasters, the book The World of Yesterday may help us go back in time and experience those years of enlightenment and dark despair. The World of Yesterday is a posthumous work of the famous Austrian writer Stefan Zweig. After the rise of fascism, he was forced into exile and lived away from his home nation until his death. He wrote this book during that time. Zweig produced a profound account of the significant historical events of his generation in Europe, events that challenged peace and humanity. Zweig evokes the changing times as Europe slid back from peace and prosperity and into destruction and turmoil. This book is a classic work of autobiography, blending one person's destiny with their times. Zweig was born into a wealthy Jewish family in Austria. As a teenager, he became fascinated with literary creation. He traveled the world and met luminaries such as Roman Rolland, Sigmund Freud, and many other personages. These figures had a great influence on him. As a prominent pacifist during the First World War, Zweig was devoted to anti-war movements. When the Nazis came to power in 1934, as a Jew, he was forced into exile. In exile, he wrote this autobiography. It bears witness to the end of the Golden Age. Disillusioned with the world, he committed suicide in 1942. Next, we will uncover the book through 3 stages of Zweig's life. Part 1, his carefree teenage years and his pursuit of literature and art. Part 2, his concern for realities, how he matured and developed from a silent observer to become an anti-war activist. Part 3, his forced exile at the peak of his literary career due to Nazi persecutions. Part 1, Carefree Teenage Years and the Pursuit of Literature and Art. The Golden Age of Security was how Zweig described the period in which he grew up before the First World War. He was born in Vienna, Austria in 1881, a time of peace and prosperity for that nation. No one expected outbreaks of violence, such as war and revolution. The various classes in Austrian society felt secure back then. All aspects of social life reflected that feeling of security. For example, all citizens had the right to vote for whomever they chose. The state confirmed their rights and duties in statute, and laws and norms provided regulation. There was no inflation, the currency that circulated was bright gold pieces. Through continuous social and economic development, people saw their incomes and living standards rise. They could even set aside money and save for their futures. Scientific innovations spurred the continuous improvement of people's health and living conditions. These factors gave everyone confidence in a future of continuous progress where people could live good carefree lives, enjoying peace and prosperity. As in Austria, at this time across Europe, despite occasional minor dissent, the relationships between people were peaceful and friendly. Czechs and Germans, Jews and Christians, rich and poor, could all live in harmony. Even when people from different political parties badmouthed each other, there was still a sense of manganese generosity. Members of parliament might criticize each other in the newspapers, but in private, they would still sit together amicably over a cup of coffee or a glass of beer. People were tolerant of those who took a different stand or disagreed with them. They viewed such tolerance as a moral strength rather than a weakness. With continuity, stability, and development, Austria achieved